described it until this point, the role of femininity in the functioning of Krishna Bhakti is to a great extent rooted in the myth, right? You have characters that are emulated, whose feelings are emulated in the devotional texts and also in the practice of devotion. Now, what if we turn to the Nirgun traditions and the poetry of the sounds? You know that, like Kabir, those who have a version of the nature of the Absolute that is close to Islam in a way, in that it is an abstract of without it's a formless entity which cannot be approached or imagined or conceptualized through anything but its name. The name here is like our handle, the only handle humanity has to approach that sort of divinity, but at the same time, it is still, love is the appropriate feeling, right? I mean, it's still bhakti. So this formless entity is approached through a longing. It's a bit of a paradox, this kind of love, right? Because love means attachment. We love something that has features, that has a voice, it's difficult to imagine what is love towards nothingness, but that is the longing of the sound. And so what happens to that sublimated femininity if we look in the tradition of the sound poets? There are no gopis anymore, there is no Yashoda. And the meaning of bhakti is that of a longing to a non-qualified God. The feeling, if we have to put a name on that longing, the feeling of an essential emptiness that is at the very heart of the human condition. So, if we turn to Kabir, the paramount Nirgun Bhakti voice, whose stature as visionary and mystic is second to none, what do we find in there? Well, first of all, we find that, you know, that the Kabir Dohas are very popular, two-liners that function as proverbs, sayings. Everybody knows at least a couple of those. So in one of them says, Nari ki jai pare anda hota bujang, which means, literally, the snake goes blind when a woman's shadow falls upon it. The snake goes blind. So that's one popular quotation. So what does this say? It's just a prolongation of the well-documented tradition of blaming women, not so much for what they do, but for who they are. So what does it mean? Even the slightest indirect contact with a woman can make a resilient animal like the snake lose its capacity to perceive reality, lose consciousness. Why? Because women are kaminis. They are generators of kama, and kama is destructive for spiritual discipline. Kama is the enemy of the sun. Okay, so that is very much in the spirit of Manusmriti and everything, maybe with a added kind of degree of urgency, because it is addressed, the situation describes the dangers to a real sant, to an ascetic dedicated to his practice, and how disruptive women can be to that practice. Not only that they are fickle and everything, but there is that to generate the karma.
It's a little bit, like, I feel like Bhakti movement was like 400 years, like something is, it was long tradition.
Yeah.
And it's only few poetesses, like few female
Yeah.
poetesses like Mirabai and
Yes.
Anand, like very few.
Yeah.
And prominent poets like Kabir Das, Tulsi Das, they are all against, like they have some
But that's the thing.
Nari Kund Narakha, these are all like Kabir Das,
Yeah.
and he was so progressive. Everybody praised him for his progressiveness, and still.
Ma'am, mic use कीजिए आपने audio को
So I don't know, like, what is the reason that they were like against women? And he was saying, "Khunkat ke pat khol re tuj liya milenge." These are all like Kabir.
Yeah.
So one hand he's like
Yeah.
praising women, but on the other hand he's like saying Nari Kundaraka, and then Nari is like a snake and all those kind of things. So it's kind of contradiction.
Well, yes, there is a contradiction. I agree. Actually, I will go even further in that direction. The thing is that we also don't know what Kabir exactly said, as we are not sure also about Surdas. So they are constructed traditions, both of them. It's better to think of them as a constructed traditions, because you cannot make a proper philological critical edition of Kabir. It's not possible. All these dohas that circulate between the Eastern tradition, the Bijak, and the Rajasthani tradition, there is so little in common. There are 20 dohas altogether. So that is one aspect of it. But then there is this other aspect of it. It is in itself, even if you take only the Rajasthani tradition, there is contradiction within that tradition, because there is the Nari Ki Jai Parade, but there is also this last pad which I will read with you, in which Kabir speaks directly, and that Surdas never does from the first person somehow. Here he speaks from the first person. Surdas speaks from the perspective of a character in the myth, right? He imagines himself as a
Third
or
person,
Ishwar.
yeah.
Here, Kabir kind of merges with an unnamed, unidentified woman, young woman. Okay. And also one thing, he's supposed to be, he's known as Nirgun Bhakt, right? So when you read, you don't find translations, systematic translations of a whole manuscript or the whole Bijak. You find selections, and because there is this assumption that he's Nirgun, these type of poets do not appear very prominently in the selections that you can read that exist, both in Hindi and in other languages. But in fact, if you try to read systematically, and Kalevart's edition, which I have quoted here, allows you to do that, the percentage of pads in which he speaks with a woman's voice is absolutely astonishing, much bigger than what you think. So it's not an exception, what I mean, that part I'm going to read now. So, Bala आओ हमारे गृह है, तुम बिन दुखिया देह है, सबको कहे तुम्हारी नारी, मोको ये अंधेह है. So, Bala, it doesn't really matter because there are so many variants in the manuscripts. आओ हमारे गृह है. So, lover, come to my house. तुम बिन दुखिया देह है. Because without you, the body is full of sorrow. My body is full of sorrow. Sabko kahe tumhari nari. Everybody's like teasing me in a way. Everybody keeps telling me that I'm your sweetheart, girlfriend, or wife. Moko inhe andegre. Such anyaya. Andegre is anyaya. This is so unfair. Ek mekhve sej na sove tab lag ke sanehre. without sleeping in the same bed, how can love be realized? Anna bhave, nindana ave, so the food has no taste and I can't sleep. Grih bin, in the house and in the woods. Dharena dhirare, I can never keep still. John kamine kampiare, John piasiku nir re. Like the lustful, following his lust. Like the thirsty one is longing for the water. Hekoyesa upkari. Upkari is somebody who upkarya, who does good, yes, to other people. Is there some charitable helper? Harisio kahe sunaere, to tell, please, to explain to Hari. Ese hual kabir vahe. This is the state of Kabir. Bin dekhiye jiv jaere. Without a sight, the life wanes away. So it's quite impressive. So we don't know who that